Hi everyone. Today I just wanted to do a little episode, if I could, on growth hormone, and I thought this may interest all you athletes out there. I know it's something that I'm very interested in, both from an anti-aging and longevity perspective, and also as an athlete. Growth hormone is one of those things you need to know a little bit about. There's a great podcast that I want to point you in the direction of where you can get a lot more in-depth information about this. Professor Andrew Huberman from Stanford, he is fabulous. Make sure you check out the Huberman Lab podcast. But I wanted to share with you guys a little bit about growth hormone, why you need to know about it, what it does, how do you get more of it in a natural manner, and sort of discuss a few things. So during puberty and when we're young, we have a lot of growth hormone. And growth hormone, you have growth hormone releasing hormone. These are neurons in the hippocampus, and they tell the pituitary gland to actually produce growth hormone, and then that goes out to the tissues and does its fabulous job. As we get older, we get, like with most things in life, it gets less and less, and this is quite a marked drop off already in our 30s, where we're talking, 2 to 3 times less than what we used to have. All our hormones sort of go south as we get older, but not quite as fast as the growth hormone tends to do. Now, some people are born with genetic issues, if you like, where the growth hormone is too low, and they will be very small of stature, and they can actually get growth hormone therapy now to help with that. And then other people, this is rare, can have too much growth hormone and they grow to be very, very large. And all, their arms and legs are very long, all their organs are bigger than would be normal. Now, growth hormone isn't all positive. It does have a downside as well to it if you have too much growth hormone, and this is why, you have to be very careful. And like, none of what I say is obviously medical advice, and please see your doctor if you're going to do anything supplementation wise, or if you want to actually look into growth hormone, you'll have to see a doctor anyway. But this is not medical advice, it's just for education, okay? So we lose a lot from our 30s and onwards, and it's one of the reasons why we recover much more slowly and why we accumulate more fat tissue. It's not the only thing, but it is one of the main things, and why our metabolism starts to slow down. So what can we do to sort of increase naturally our growth hormone levels? Now, it can be done with therapy, as I said. It was synthesized, I think, a couple of decades ago now. So they have an injection therapy in the case where you have a medical problem that can be done, obviously under doctor's supervision. But if it's too high, it can cause growth of all tissues, so not just muscle and not just reducing fat, which is something that a lot of us will want to do by allowing fatty acids to be taken out of storage and used for ATP, but it can also increase the growth of things like your heart, your lungs, your liver, and your spleen, and so cause this is, can be problematic. It also can cause growth of tumors and cancer, so you don't just want to turn that tap on willy-nilly and have as much growth hormone so that you're nice and strong and stay young. It's always about, it's with everything, and with hormones, it's about finding the Goldilocks zone. So that's about, if you're abusing growth hormone. Now, but there are some behaviors and supplements that we can use to increase our own growth hormone as we get older, so that we don't have all the negative downsides of aging. And you can get substantial increases from some of these behaviors. It's not just a tiny little increase. Some of these things can actually bring you a 300 to 500% and even more is short-term release of growth hormone, and it can have powerful effects on your metabolism and on the repair of tissues. So growth hormone is released every night when you go to sleep, during the early part of sleep, during what's known as slow wave sleep. This is when we have the delta waves of sleep, big oscillations that are going on in the brain. And this is where we get the growth hormone release. So if you're wanting to increase your growth hormone, get to bed early, get into that deep sleep phase. And to do that, you need to be thinking about not having too high blood glucose levels. In other words, not eating too close to when you go to bed, especially not carbohydrates or high glycemic index foods that are going to cause a blood glucose spike and a release of insulin. So make sure you're not eating too close to bed. Ideally 2 to 3 hours before you go to sleep is when you should stop eating, in order so that your blood sugars are where they should be and not too high. You also don't want them too low that you're hungry, because that will cause other problems, but you just want them to be at a nice level, and that will help you get into the delta wave sleep. And getting to bed early will also help that as well. In the later part of the night, you have more REM sleep, and in the earlier part of the night, you have more of this deep sleep or slow wave sleep. So why does slow wave sleep in particular allow us to secrete growth hormones? Well, the delta activity in the brain, this is the giant brain, giant waves of activities. Now, these trigger neurons in the brain to release growth hormone, releasing hormone. And this signals to the pituitary to actually release the hormones. Now, it's not dependent on the circadian rhythm. It is dependent on those delta waves in the brain. So it's not going to just happen automatically because every 24 hours it happens, like as with some things. This is really reliant on that sleep. This is one of the reasons why sleep is one of your biggest leverages. There's many reasons why, and I've done some podcast episodes on sleep, and it's a really thing that you need to prioritize, getting good deep sleep. But in the daytime, you can also do things to increase your growth hormone levels, and things that can actually help you get more even delta brain waves during the time when you're awake. One of these is meditation. Now, meditation has two separate lines of effects, so to speak. It can change your state over a short time, but it can also cause changes over a long time, and it can actually change your personality traits when you're doing this over longer periods. And some types of meditation can actually help you get into the delta wave states. So check out some of the meditation things out there. These can be very, very beneficial for helping you do that. Also, from a supplementation point of view, melatonin supplementation in very, very small doses has been proven to be helpful in some clinical studies. However, there's a big caveat with melatonin. You don't just want to take melatonin willy-nilly, and actually you must do that if you live in New Zealand with the supervision of a doctor. Overseas, it's much more readily available. But the problem with some of the melatonins that are available overseas for supplements are quite high super physiological doses in the range of 1 milligram to 3 milligrams, even up to 10 milligrams. And this is way more than our body normally produces for sleep. So melatonin is your sleep hormone. It's the one that helps you go to sleep. It is not the one that helps you stay asleep. It's the one that helps you go to sleep. But as we age, again, melatonin production tends to go down, and this is why older people also have problems with their sleep. So very micro dosages, somewhere in the vicinity of around 500 mcg, micrograms, not milligrams, micrograms, could be beneficial from the studies that have been done in helping you transition into this delta wave sleep. But again, please see a doctor about that. It's something that I'm looking at for my mum, to get some extra melatonin productions, because once you get to sort of 80 years old, you can pretty much guarantee you're not got your melatonin doing its thing that it needs to be doing. Other things you can do to just improve your own melatonin production is blue light blocking glasses at nighttime, because blue light, which was magic during the day, we want blue light in the morning. And in fact, on that point, it'd be great if you get outside, get some early morning sunshine on your retinas. As the sun sort of starts to come up, there's a special quality of light, and it has a lot of blue light in there, and that causes a cortisol release, causes you to be reset the suprachiasmatic nucleus, which is the master clock in the brain that sets the body clock basically for the entire body, for every cell in every body. So getting that early morning sunshine can really help you with your sleep rhythms, and indeed avoiding the blue light at nighttime. This is the type of light that comes out of your TV, out of your screens, even from overhead lights and LEDs. So protecting your eyes from that, dimming your lights in the house in the evening, and also not doing too much work on the computer late at night or on your phones, and also wearing blue light blocking glasses. It's also super beneficial if you have the opportunity to actually go and get some sunlight on your eyes as the sun sets. And once again, that's retelling your body, your suprachiasmatic nucleus, that it's now time to slow down and to get ready for bed and to start producing melatonin. And melatonin is the thing that's going to make you feel a bit more sleepy. But back to the conversation around growth hormone. Melatonin in these small doses has been shown to help you transition into a deeper delta wave sleep, and that's what we're actually getting at here. So that's from the supplementation side. From an exercise perspective, you can do a heck of a lot to increase your growth hormone. Now, this is sex dependent. If women and men are slightly different in this, but with exercise, the key factor to take away here is not to overtrain. When you go over around 75 minutes, that's when you're actually going to cause an increase in your cortisol levels, and that can be actually counterproductive to growth hormone release, and also counterproductive to your testosterone and your estrogen. So if you are training to extremes, like I did with ultramarathon running, I would have been increasing my stress hormones, my cortisol, my adrenaline, my testosterone would have been dipping, my estrogen would have been going down. And that's one of the reasons why many ladies who train at extremely high amounts lose their menstrual cycles, is because of this. However, exercise done in the dosages of somewhere between 30 and 75 minutes. Women tend to get the growth hormone release even after 30 minutes, men more towards the 60 minutes. But when you're getting over the 75 minutes, that's when it starts to go down that curve of the growth hormone. Now, the types of exercises, this is valid for both weight training and for endurance training. So you can get it from both. With the weight training, the key is to be doing it almost to failure, but not quite to muscle failure. So don't go to the point where you're absolutely losing it. If growth hormone release is your goal, go to the point where it's very difficult and hard. Maybe you're doing 6 sets of 10 reps if you're doing weight training on different muscles, and going to that point of near failure but not failure. And with the endurance activities, doing the high intensity interval training style for a period, but not longer than a total of an hour, and the actual high intensity would be a lot less than the hour duration. So that seems to be a way to increase 300 to 500% your growth hormone levels, your resting growth hormone levels. And the cool thing is that you get it not only after your exercise, but that night when you go to sleep, you also get a big spike in your growth hormone levels, again by 300 to 500%. So this is massive. And this is one of the reasons why athletes who train regularly throughout their lives look younger. It's because they're making a lot more growth hormone. And so this is a very beneficial thing that we can do to be anti-aging, to promote our longevity. But please take note, when you go into overtraining, when you're doing ultramarathons, when you're doing marathon training, you're actually going the other way. So while I'm not saying don't do that, just be aware of that, and give your body times in the year when you're not doing that type of thing. Okay, you're doing shorter, maybe quite intense, but shorter exercise periods for up to 75 minutes. Now, one of the other key factors for your actual, when you're actually doing your weight training and so on, is not to have too high blood glucose levels either. So during training, having one of those horrible energy drinks or something like that will actually flatline your growth hormone. So don't do that. You don't want to have too lower blood sugar levels going into your training for obvious reasons, because you won't be able to train very well. You won't have the power output. You won't have the endurance. However, you don't want to have really high blood glucose levels, and you don't want to just wreck your growth hormone being released because you've just had some energy drink or something. So just being aware of those blood sugar levels. Once the glucose goes up and the insulin release happens, that shuts down the growth hormone. So just being aware of that. Now, sauna is another really fantastic way to increase your growth hormones, and this, it does hugely. Now, if you haven't got access to a sauna, don't tune out, because you can also do this just by getting your body hot for short periods of time, whether that's training in layers of clothing, or even putting on a plastic suit and going for a run, or even hot showers, hot baths. These types of things can be beneficial. If you have a sauna, doing like a protocol, something like 2 times 20 minutes with a 30-minute cooling period in between, has been shown to have massive increases in growth hormone. Or infrared saunas, which is what I have and do on a regular basis. I usually stay in there for about 45 to 50 minutes. Or, yeah, as I said, you can do hot showers and hot baths and things which might not be quite as beneficial, but still very, very good. This also has the benefit of lowering your cortisol levels. This is a wonderful thing to do at night, and it actually increases your BDNF, which is brain-derived neurotrophic factor as well. So that helps with brain health. And it can also help you prepare for bed by shifting your temperature. You're actually telling your body to now get prepared for bed. You can shift the temperature actually with the cold or the hot, and it will have the same effect on you, helping you go to sleep, but it's more pleasant to do the hot stuff. However, caution, please do not overheat to the extreme. If you overheat your neurons in your brain, you die. If you overheat your organs to the extreme, you will die. So don't overdo the sauna. And this is one of the biggest dangers of doing all the desert races and ultramarathons that I did in places like Death Valley, where it was absolutely crucial that we kept our brains and our neurons protected. And I've seen athletes die from having their neurons cooked. So please be careful. Sauna is also not for everybody. So, for example, I would not put my mum in a sauna, someone who has cardiovascular disease and who is just too fragile to be able to take that little bit of a hermetic shock. So just be careful with that one. But if you're young and healthy, or middle-aged and healthy like me, then to do a sauna practice can increase your growth hormone levels, again, 300 to 500%. And the big one, if you can do sauna for 3 days in a row, you'll get up to 1,600% more growth hormone. So absolutely amazing what you can do with heat. Now, growth hormones effects are mediated by something called IGF-1, insulin growth factor 1. So when you make growth hormone, it goes to the liver and then it releases IGF-1. Now, IGF-1 has been linked to an increases in memory and learning. And so this is one of the reasons why too, when you do exercise, you increase your growth hormone, you increase your insulin growth hormone factor 1, and this improves your memory and your learning. It does not, contrary to popular belief, cause neurogenesis though. So just, be aware of that. It's not actually making new neurons, unfortunately, or fortunately, I'm not sure, but it's actually beneficial that you'll be able to learn and retain information better if you do exercise. So certain durations of exercise have different effects on IGF-1 and growth hormone. Again, the woman, you get your biggest peak in the first 30 minutes of your training, and then a little bit later up towards the 60 minutes. So that's the end of today's session. I hope that you found that very beneficial on growth hormone. Really, really important if you want to be anti-aging, if you want to make sure that you retain your muscle mass and your bone density and your metabolism, all of these effects. I hope to do one on thyroid hormones shortly, because these run in parallel and they're also very important. But I hope that you've enjoyed this session today. And if you enjoyed it, please come and listen to my podcast, Pushing the Limits. It's a globally ranked top 200 show now. I go and get world-leading experts to share their expertise direct with you, the cutting edge of stuff that's coming out. So if you're into anti-aging, longevity, high performance, running, fitness, health, all of those topics, then be sure to check out Pushing the Limits. If you want help with a health journey, that's what we do at our company. Neil Wagstaff and I, my business partner, run epigenetics and genetic testing programs, and we also have health optimization programs, and we also have webinar series that we do live called Boost Camp, which helps people optimize their health. So check out what we do. Come on over to lisatamati.com and hit the Work With Us button, and you can see what we do there. Thanks for your attention today, and we'll see you again soon.